Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of the greatest podcast in the world, Movie Dudes.
Movie dudes.
Hell yeah. So, this is our first episode, which also means it's probably going to be the worst one, since we both have no idea what we're doing. My name's Phil.
My name's Alec.
And so, basically, just to give the story of how this all came to be, a few weeks ago, I was sitting in my room, thinking about life and thinking, gosh, wouldn't it be amazing to make a podcast just two guys talking about movies? So I realized that I had no one to do this with, so I decided to go to the best place on earth to ask for help, Reddit. Went to the because am I not right?
That Reddit's the best place on earth.
Let's just say that. All right. And so I went to the r/Criterion, made a post saying, "Does anyone want to make a podcast with me?" And Alex said, "Yes, sure." So here we are.
That's basically it. I DM'd him that night, and I was just kind of like, whatever.
Yeah.
Because, throughout COVID, I get, just making, making friends online became, I don't know, much more, I don't know what the word would be, just kind of like, I don't know, realistic to me, I guess.
Yeah.
So I was fine with just being like, whatever, yeah. I'll start talking to this random stranger online.
Right.
And yeah. And then I sent him the DM. We talked over Discord a couple times, and now we're here.
Yeah. So, what we thought for this first episode is we would maybe talk about sort of like what kind of cinephiles we are, because the way we planned the podcast for the future is basically each episode is going to be about a different film, and it's going to be us talking about our opinion about the film and the people who made it, and just anything about the film we're going to pick. But for this episode, it just made more sense, since no one watching this video is going to know us, to just introduce ourselves. So the first subject that we wanted to talk about is, what is our first film that we saw, or if we can't remember, what is the first memory that we have of movies? So do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I could. I was told that when I was younger, and I'd have to ask my parents about this, but I was told one time that the first movie I ever saw was Cars in the theater, which might be true, because I was born in 2002, and I think that came out in 2003. I'm not
No,
too sure.
I think it's 05.
2005? Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
I think so. Let me
shoot.
check.
Yeah, you're probably right. I don't...
I think so.
I'm not too sure.
I don't know.
It's either that or the SpongeBob movie. That's always what I was told.
It's 06.
06.
06, yeah.
Maybe I went to the movies before then. I legitimately have no idea. But I guess my first major movie memory that I remember getting excited to watch movies was I would watch movies with my dad every weekend, and he used to just get a bunch of movies for us to watch. That's all I'll really say about it, because he's just like, yeah, he'd get a collection of movies. We'd watch 80s classics, regular Disney movies like Aladdin, and I remember there was just this period of time where I watched a lot of movies and basically forgot what they were all about until I watched them again later. But I do remember those times basically because of those movies.
Yeah. For me, I have no idea what my first movie was. The first film that I remember actually seeing in theaters was actually Spider-Man 3.
Ooh.
Yeah, and actually the entire Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy was they were some of the movies that I watched the most as a kid, and so to this day I still find a lot of enjoyment watching them. And so that's a memory that probably causes why I have such a great memory of Spider-Man 3. Because I'm one of those people who says that the film isn't nearly as bad as what others say.
No, it's honestly not too bad.
No, it's not.
I haven't seen it in full since I was really young. But I did watch it, like, I watched like half of it on TV like a few years ago, and it wasn't too bad.
I get why people don't like it.
Yeah, it's not the best one.
It's
obviously.
definitely the worst one of the trilogy, but
Yeah.
it's still a pretty solid film in my opinion.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. And well, one of the things that really made me get into movies as a kid was, well, kind of like you, my dad often brought home DVDs because he had, well, that's the funny part. He had a guy where he worked who made bootleg copies of movies, and he would sell them to him. So
that is hilarious, because that was the exact same situation with my dad and I.
Dude,
not without the selling part. My dad had a friend.
I don't know if it was selling either. I just assumed.
Yeah,
but not
because like
about it.
I don't know. My dad had a friend that was really good at bootlegging, and eventually, we both learned how to do it, and we had this massive stack of DVDs that were, just all written in Sharpie. I have them still somewhere.
Same. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's. I didn't want to mention it because I'm not too sure on the legality of it.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
I think how I learned it was like, I don't know, it wasn't illegal unless you're selling it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
I think it's still frowned upon.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure no one's gonna do anything if you don't make money from it.
Yeah,
so,
I don't think anybody's gonna care.
Yeah, no, exactly, and especially since like the laws on streaming and copywriting movies isn't really like, you're not gonna go to jail for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I definitely remember like a bunch of movies that I would watch, because like what I did is like I had 10 movies that I just watched all the time, and yeah, so that was basically where my love for movies started.
I would say that I definitely agree with you, though, about that being where it started. I guess if I had to say if there was any other, specific memories of when I used to like movies was, when I was a kid, I had one of those, like, little portable DVD players. You ever seen one of those?
Yeah, I had one, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
I'm pretty sure I still have it, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
But it doesn't
Mine broke. Yeah, like, mine broke, like, 10 years ago.
Yeah, because they're cheap as fuck.
Yeah, I would I would bring it to my grandma's house on the weekends when I'd stay there sometimes, and I remember I had 2 movies that I would always put in and watch one specific scene from both of them. I was a weird kid. I wouldn't even watch the whole movie.
Oh,
I would just watch like I would watch.
That too.
I had 2 movies that I would always put in there: Son of the Mask and All Dogs Go to Heaven. 2 very not great movies.
I haven't seen the other film, but Son of Mask is. I've seen it like a few years ago just for the joke. It's bad. It's not
it's
good.
Terrible. No, but when I was a kid, I don't know what it was. I think it was my not-developed brain just really liked the scene. Just really liked the scene of the dog and the baby running around the room trying on the mask.
Yeah.
And then there's that. The All Dogs Go to Heaven one is like even further in my brain because I honestly can't remember like the specific scene. I just remember I think it's the one where they go up to heaven.
Right.
I don't know. I haven't seen the movie in like 10 years.
I've never seen this film.
It's very forgettable, obviously.
Yeah, right.
Sure. I'm sure it's fine. I don't know.
Dude, but,
I can't say anything.
Yeah, I also had like I used to watch a lot of. I feel like it's the same thing for any kids, where we just watch a bunch of bad films. Like for some reason, the one film that I have the biggest memory of watching was Alvin and the Chipmunks, like the live action film.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Also, like the 2 Scooby-Doo live action film. For some reason, there's something with like live action versions of cartoons. that I just really liked as a kid.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I rewatched those live action Scooby Doo movies with my girlfriend fairly recently. They're not bad,
dude. They're not that bad. They're really fine.
Like they have some kind of early 2000s kind of awfulness to them,
like
in some scenes.
A bunch of fart jokes all the time because that was just the kind of
some
humor they made at the time.
Yeah, some fart jokes, some really weird sexuality.
Yeah.
But other than that, they're really solid movies.
Dude, yeah, especially like for a kid, they're just a really good time of enjoyment.
Yeah, they're not bad. Yeah. I just remember, like, because I watched them as a kid, and then as like an early teenager, I was like, oh, those were terrible. And then like I watched them again, I'm like, oh.
Dude, at when I was like 13 years old, I had a YouTube channel where I made reviews of movies, kind of like the Nostalgia Critic.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's like I made so many reviews of films that I liked when I was younger, just because like, oh, the Nostalgia Critic says it's bad, so it has to be bad, right? And
you have no idea. I didn't have a YouTube channel, but I would think the same thing. I would watch the Nostalgia Critic and I'd be like, yeah, these movies suck. And then I'm like, why would I think that?
Well, it's because we're at this stage, you're in a mindset where like, oh, I have to make my own opinions, but you don't know how, so you just see someone say something and you assume, all right, yeah, right, sure. So that's why like you got a bunch of kids making like being like really weird and doing some really dumb and toxic stuff just because they don't know better.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it was exactly the mindset I had too. But then there was also some movies that Nostalgia Critic was right about, like what was it, like the Lorax remake?
Yeah.
I remember that one being a big one where as a kid I liked it, and then I saw the Nostalgia Critic video, and then I watched the movie again. I was like, oh yeah, that is bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, also, I just thought about that, but we were, so you were born in 2002. I was born in 2003. So we're
really,
yeah. So we were both born in the kind of like last generation that got to go to like Blockbuster and that kind of stuff. So did you?
You're right.
Did you? Do you have any like Blockbuster memory or something?
I have one.
Go ahead.
My dad and I would go to Blockbuster fairly often in 2008. The time when we rented movies most was when we lived in another city from the one I was born in, and we would go to the family video that was there all the time. But Blockbuster in my hometown, I remember one time we got a copy of Spy Kids on DVD.
Yeah, which are also pretty good films.
Oh no, yeah, I will defend those movies till I die.
Same.
Except for the fourth one, obviously.
And maybe the third one.
I like Game Over. Yeah. It's stupid in a great way.
I like the Elijah Wood scene.
Oh yeah, cake.
Yeah.
But there's so yeah, I had Spy Kids, and I remember we did the old mistake of putting in a box and we just forgot about it. And then when my dad went back to Blockbuster, they were just like, okay, we could either charge you a bunch of late fees or you could just buy it. And so he just bought it.
All right, yeah.
And so sitting somewhere in my dad's house is an old DVD copy of Spy Kids from Blockbuster, which I really want to find now that I talk about it.
Yeah. No, that'd be cool. Well, so for me, that's I had a Blockbuster. I had a Blockbuster near my house for until I think 2013. No, maybe earlier. I don't know. Around that time, it shut down, and now it's a shop like to buy animal food. So just guess why not? But there was another video store that are near that place that opened up a few months, maybe a year later, and that one lasted until 2019. So I have like very recent memories of renting movies, which I think a lot of people don't have that luck. And I remember when it closed that they made a sale, where you could buy all the films for really cheap. And so I was kind of excited about that because at that point I was really into like buying a bunch of DVDs and Blu-rays and making kind of a collection. But at the same time, I was so sad that it was closing down because I had so many good memories of going there and renting movies. And so yeah, I've been definitely been missing that for a long time. But yeah,
very. It's funny that you mentioned that because the exact same thing happened to the family video that was in my mom's town where she lives. They had a like going out of business sale planned, and I texted my mom like, let me know, please, because I wanna go there and see what they have. She didn't. She forgot. So
Aww.
I didn't.
Well,
I didn't end up getting to go to it and to the going out of business sale. But I can remember the actual last movie I ever rented from a video store.
What was it?
It was The Sisters Brothers. Which, hold on, let me look up what movie this was, because it was a 2018 movie. I remember that. Or was it 29? Hold on, let me look it up.
With with John C. Reilly and Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah. It's okay. It's not a great movie.
All right. Yeah.
So I mean, a lot of people love it. I thought it was just fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was the last movie that I rented from a video store.
Yeah. I don't remember all the films that I bought, but I remember that I got this really cool 30th anniversary DVD collector thing of Close Encounter of the Third Kind.
Ooh.
Which I don't know if you see here. There's like a poster here. That's a poster that came from this.
That's amazing. Actually,
that's nice. It's one of the 3 only movie posters that I own. I've got like a Back to the Future one right here and a Harry Potter one over there.
Yeah, I have. Yeah. Like, okay, so I was gonna bring this up eventually, but it's good I'm bringing it up now.
Go ahead.
But this background is very temporary because I am moving from this apartment in about a month. So when I move, I'll probably like actually set up a good background with movie posters. But right now, the only movie posters I have are a bootleg Redbubble poster of Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou by Wes Anderson. And I have this really old Hollywood poster of the original Rampage. That this is a decently interesting story on its own. My stepdad is a realtor, and he worked in like condo realty for a while. And there was a guy that he was selling the condo of who was he was like a filmmaker. And he had like a bunch of film memorabilia, and he left some. Like, he left a mug that I still have that says Wisconsin Film Association or something, and that Rampage poster, and actually the current monitor I'm using right now.
That's nice.
Yeah, well, I mean, it does its job. It's an iSymphony, like, very small TV.
Yeah, so isn't that like a really old brand?
Oh, yeah, I would be hard pressed to find anything iSymphony now.
Yeah,
or maybe not. Maybe they're a very successful company, and I'm just talking out of my ass. Who knows?
Maybe.
But it's a fine. It does the job. But yeah, that was that story. He also in a separate. This is completely unrelated. Yeah. In a separate condo, he found a Nintendo DSi. With Mario and Luigi's Bowser's Inside Story, just left inside of it, and it's so funny. He comes up to my room. He's just like, "Do you want this?" And I went, "Yeah," because I hadn't had a DS since I was like, I don't know, 12.
Yeah,
I was like, "This is awesome."
Sure, yeah. Still got my DS. I don't know about you, but I still have it there.
Oh yeah, no, I still have that DS over in one of my drawers with my 3DS that I have. But yeah,
so
that was my condo movie story.
Nice. So to get a bit more on more on track.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know what that was. Okay. I live in a big city. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I
Where'd
live
you
in a. Okay. I guess it's fine to say this because
No,
it's
if
already.
you just say if it's a big
already,
city, you can just say.
No. I think it's already fine to say this because it'll come up in another
Right.
short film I make or something. I live in Cleveland, Ohio,
Oh, nice.
and I don't know if you know anything about Cleveland. It can get a bit
Yeah.
loud sometimes.
Alright.
So I'm gonna be honest. I don't know what that was because I've never heard that kind of noise before. So
It sounded, from my point of view, it sounded like, that scene in Jurassic Park with the T-Rex, and it's like smashes the ground, and there's the shot of the cup of coffee. It's sounding like something like that. I have no idea what that was.
it
It's
could
so
either
weird.
be thunder or a car crash. I have no idea.
One or the other.
One or the other. Anyway,
Yeah. All right.
back on track.
Back on track. Until we go on another tangent. So that was our origin story of movies. But when would you say was the moment where you really thought of yourself, all right, movies are fucking awesome, and I want to watch movies until the day I die, which I assume happened.
Right. No, I
Yeah.
would say it was a very gradual thing because I loved movies for a very long time. And it was probably around 2016 that I actually thought, like, hey, I should start, writing down movies that I see and, like, what I thought of them. And that just kind of morphed over time into, like, hey, I want to branch out and watch all these other movies that are not usually talked about. And then I think it was about, I want to say early 2019, I started like getting into international film. So I can't really say I can pinpoint exactly when I started, but I do know exactly when I wanted to get into filmmaking itself. This is 2015. And I'm on a road trip in the South with my grandpa and my dad. And about a month before that, there's this YouTube channel that I used to watch called Syndigo. It was like sketch comedy done by the guys who now run the channel Super Mega. And I used to watch their channel a lot. And I think it was in September of 2015. One of the members of Syndigo, Daniel Tykwer, passed away, suicide.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. Markiplier made a video. I saw that.
Yeah, it was like, in my world, it was like one of the first celebrity, not like, I guess you can say celebrity deaths, but it was like,
well, yeah, someone that you respect but
Yeah.
you don't personally know.
yeah, it was a celebrity death. It was like one of the first times that I was like rocked by it. I was like, oh my god.
I get that. Yeah.
And so I decided, like, I remember I was like, there's still a lot of, like, the Syndigo back catalog that I never watched. So I went all the way back and I learned that they had a podcast that was on iTunes. I still don't know if it's up. It probably is. Someone's probably archived it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But there was, on that road trip was the first time that I listened to a podcast, like, all the way through. There was, like, I think 14 episodes of it by the time that this channel ended. So I listened to all of them on that road trip, and there's one specific episode where they talked to their friend Tykwer, who does like filmmaking stuff, like just shooting stuff and like all that.
I think he works with Game Grumps now. Like he makes
he did 10-minute Power Hour for a while.
And I think he makes videos for Ninja Six Party.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot he still does that. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I saw that in the credits. Yeah,
I was so yeah, I was listening to that episode and everything he was saying. I was like, I want to do that. Mm-hmm. I was like, because it was a new feeling that I had never experienced, where I was just like, oh god, I know almost exactly where I want to go with this.
Yeah,
and only like later on, like in the last couple of years, that I think, hey, maybe I actually want to write the movies that I'm making or something like that. It was just a very eye-opening experience listening to that. podcast on that road trip, which, now that both of those memories are, conjoined in my brain, I have a very good memory to hang on to with that. So that was the point where I just kind of started getting into movies much more heavily.
Right.
So yeah, you go ahead, because mine went on
right.
for a while.
No, it's fine. For me, I'd say it really started when I was around 13 years old, where I started to watch a lot of YouTube. And I started to watch especially a lot of YouTube channels that talked about movies. And that's where everything kind of came together. So it's going to come up in the future eventually, so I'm just going to say it. I'm Canadian French, which is that I'm a native French speaker, which is that I watch a bunch of French YouTubers, and they've got a lot in France. They've got a lot of really good movie YouTubers that were really entertaining and interesting to watch, and they made me discover just so many films, and they made me think, yeah, all right, movies are amazing. So that's where it all came to be. And then also, that same way, I also thought making movies would be amazing as a job. I'd love to do that. Because when I was 7 years old, I went to a play that my older brother did. And when I saw that, I thought, oh, I want to be an actor. And then I started discovering YouTube videos. And then I thought, yeah, never mind. I want to be a director. That's what I want to do. And then I discovered, a Canadian French director named Xavier Dolan?
I know the name. What is he made?
He made a film called Mummy, which won the Palme d'Or, I think, in Cannes.
I think that's on my watch list.
Yeah. He at the age of 19 years old, he made a film and premiered it at Cannes. So he's this crazy young prodigy and everything. So he's probably the biggest director in Quebec. So I admired him a lot. And when I discovered him, I thought, all right, I want to do everything. And then I kind of calmed down a little bit, but yeah. So basically, that was it. And then eventually, because the issue was that I was watching a bunch of videos about movies, but I was barely watching any movies, actually. So I got into this kind of issue where, as we said earlier, when you're a kid, you just watch stuff and you hear stuff and then you just spit it back out. You can't... kids don't form their own opinion. So basically, I was giving my opinion on movies that I hadn't seen. And eventually I started watching more movies. And I eventually discovered a bunch of foreign films. Earlier last year, I discovered South Korean cinema, which I really like now, and a lot of cinemas from around the world. And here I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting that you said you wanted to be an actor, because as a kid, I never ever thought I was I never thought I'd enjoy acting even remotely. And for my film school classes, I'm in film school, and I think you are too, right?
I am as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So, in my film school classes, one of them was an acting course that we had to take, and I thought I was gonna hate it. But I actually loved it. I don't think I want to be an actor per se, but I would be fine with doing stuff, I guess, when it comes to acting.
Yeah.
Just a little thing here and there. Who knows?
Yeah. So I think now is the time for the top 10.
Oh boy.
Ooh. All right. So we thought that a good way to introduce the kind of cinephile that we are, we would both tell our top 10 favorite movies of all time.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is kind of a very difficult thing to do, because
Oh yeah.
we've both watched like a few hundred films, and so out of all of those films, how do you pick 10 films that are going to be your favorite?
I would.
So,
I don't know. Initially, I was going into it thinking like, I don't think I'm going to put any of these in order, but I think I have a decent order to them now. So, I mean, I think a good way we could do it is just like, I say my number 10, you say your number 10, and then we just bounce off like that.
Uh-huh. All right. Sure.
Alrighty. So, do you want to go first?
I can go first.
All right.
So, my number 10 film is on this shirt. So, it is a film, a Japanese film called House, directed by Nobuhiko Obayashi, which was released back in 1977. It is a horror film, or at least that's what it says it is. But in my opinion, it's kind of more of a comedy.
Oh, it's amazing.
This film, oh man, so good. I'm gonna say exactly what Bill Hader said in his Criterion Closet video. This film is a crazy fucking movie. And so basically, it's probably the most weird film that I've seen in my entire life, and that's what made it so entertaining. So this film is about a group of teenage girls who decide to spend their summer vacation going to one of the girls' grandmother house in the south of Japan. And they go there, and like any good horror film, they realize that there's some weird stuff going on. There's like some paranormal stuff. And so yeah, if I say it like that, it just sounds like a very basic horror film, but it is absolutely fucking not.
No, it is not. No, see, okay, I
Yeah.
I love House. I've seen it twice now. The first time I watched it, I was going into it with the idea like, hey, I think this will be like not typical, but I was like, it might just be like, Japanese horror. It might just be some cool stuff. It might be maybe a little weird. And then I go into it, and within the first like 10 minutes or so, there's already some amazingly just strange cinematic choices. And then as the movie goes on, there's so much like amazing it's just amazing weird stuff I never thought I would have seen in a movie.
Oh man. The way that I describe this film anytime I want to get someone to watch it is I say the first act of the film is directed like it was a weird girl anime from the 90s.
That's exactly it.
And the other part of the film is directed like, those kind of weird overactive commercials from Japan that you see and you're like, what the fuck is going on? It's directed like that.
You captured that perfectly. That's exactly what it is.
I know, right? And so yeah, it's like all the weird things that you could imagine coming from Japan are all jammed up in this 88-minute amazing horror film, which is just so fun to watch. I don't know what's your favorite scene from the film. I think my favorite might be the girl who starts playing the piano and then gets eaten by said piano.
Oh yeah. What did I say my favorite scene in the film was?
I think when we talked about it last time, we talked about the guy who transforms into a pile of bananas.
Oh, I wouldn't say that's my favorite. That's definitely one of them, though. I would actually
It's amazing.
I would actually agree with you and say that the piano one is my favorite scene. Because I think you hit the nail on the head. If I had to, and honestly, we might have to do an entire episode on House in the future.
Oh, we have to.
Yeah, it would be an amazing episode to do. But one thing I want to point out especially is the way that Nobuhiko Obayashi uses framing. Because there's like that scene where the dad's on the balcony and there's all like the boxes or whatever. Ugh. Jesus, just watching that scene makes me go like, oh, it's so pretty.
Another scene that might be my favorite of the film for a whole other reason is the last scene of the film, which is when the new stepmom of the main girl goes to the house to just spend the vacation with them after all the girls have been killed. Obviously, spoilers. I'm sorry. It's a horror film. What do you expect?
Yeah,
and it's just this weirdly amazingly beautiful scene of just the girl and the grandma talking, and the way it's framed and the lighting. It's a gorgeous scene.
It's so beautiful, like on the surface, but just taking a step further, it's very deeply disturbing in a way.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is about that scene, but it just makes me feel uneasy whenever I watch it.
I know, right? And it's just amazing, and I love it. And so, yeah, no, House, if you want a weird fucking film to just sit down and have a really good time, watch House. It's amazing.
Yeah, House is brilliant. I have it on Blu-ray, literally sitting in my drawer right over there. It's one of the Criterions I own.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it in the next Barnes & Noble sale.
Oh, it's an absolute must-have. All right, so
what is your number 10?
I guess that moves on to my number 10, which I do not own physically, because if I wanted to own it physically, I would have to shell out about $60. My number 10 pick is Neon Genesis Evangelion: The End of Evangelion. Which right. Directed by Hideaki Anno. So it's
both Japanese films.
Yes. So the end of Evangelion is, as it says, the end of the original Evangelion series, which was it had a very weird history. I don't know if you've ever watched Evangelion at all.
All right. Well, if we're going to talk about Evangelion, I'm going to say it. 2 or 3 years ago, it came out on Netflix, so I thought, all right, I'm going to watch it. I watched 7 or 8 episodes and thought, all right, this is boring as shit, and then I stopped.
That's fair.
I couldn't get into it. It was just too slow for my taste.
No, I'm gonna be honest. It's like, I think the original Evangelion series is like an 8 out of 10. It's good. It's really good. Yeah. But it's not great. Mm-hmm. The end of Evangelion.
All right.
I'll get to that. So, okay. The original Evangelion series ended in a very abstract, really experimental last 2 episodes that played with the foundations of an anime episode, and it's really well done. But not a lot of people liked it. The studio Gainax started getting a lot of threats. So the director decided, you know what? Screw all of you. And he made the end of Evangelion as a replacement for that other ending, and basically kills all the main characters in a glorious, beautiful, terrifying sequence of the entire movie. It is.
I think I've heard about that.
It has this 8-minute sequence of, spoiler alert, the world ending, set to a really beautiful piano and orchestral song, and it is probably my favorite animated scene of all time. But
okay.
The end of Evangelion, in my opinion, it's not the best animated movie ever, but it brings all of these just crazy, chaotic elements from the show. It takes its experimentalness and decides, you know what, we're not going to dumb it down at all, or just we're not going to become simple just out of nowhere. How about we just take that and run with it? And it has so much to say about... The whole show has so much to say about just mental health and how certain things can go completely out of hand and government conspiracies. It's a very good movie. I would say it was hard. It was hard to pick my number 10 but I just can't deny how good End of Evangelion is as a movie.
Yeah. I definitely think that I'm going to have to watch the entire show, just at least to say, like, because I don't like to judge a show or film if I hadn't seen all the way through.
Obviously. No, I do that very case by case. Like, I don't know. There's only one time that I ever dropped a show in the middle and thought, you know what, this sucks, I'm not watching the rest of it. And that was with
Yeah.
That was with I think it was 2017's Darling in the Franxx, which was
Oh yeah, all right,
which was an anime that took a lot of inspiration from Evangelion, and obviously we can get into anime in a whole separate way. And all I'll say is this: Darling in the Franxx wishes it was Evangelion during a lot of scenes
Right.
and parts. It's a very weird show, and I eventually want to make a video dissecting why I don't like that show.
Yeah. Well, so my brother is a really big anime fan, so he's told me about it, and basically he told me that like this show was made by a studio called Studio Trigger, which also made another really popular show called Gurren Lagann, and also made a bunch of other stuff. And he told me that this studio has a weird tradition that every single one of their show or movies, no matter what, always ends in space, and not always in the smoothest way, not always in the way that makes the most sense. So,
Oh my god. I don't know. Eventually, so I'm moving in with a good friend of mine, Jared, very soon. Eventually, I don't know, like someday in the future, I want to have him as a guest on the podcast, or just something. Yeah, like because I want him to tell, just to kind of tell you about like just how funny he is. He described to me the last 10 episodes of Darling in the Franxx and what happens in them. I was laughing so hard that I think I started crying. Because it is genuinely the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. But anyway, that's getting off the topic. End of Evangelion is my number 10.
Alright. So, I guess we should go for my number 9. And I'll be honest, while you were talking about Evangelion, I had like a little voice in my head that was really thinking whether or not, because I'm really hesitating about changing my number 9 for another movie.
Okay.
I thinking about it, I think I'm gonna keep it. So my number 9, and I have it on a Blu-ray. My number 9 is The Shining, which I know is also gonna be on your list.
Yeah, we'll have to
pretty
see
sure
where.
it is. What I say is, since I'm pretty sure it's gonna be higher than 9 on your list, right?
I won't confirm or deny.
All right. Well, so we're not going to say a lot about the Shining now, but let's talk about it in bigger details later.
Are you wanting to save it for when it's on mine?
Just save it for later, just so we can both just say why we love this film so much. But obviously, just The Shining. If you somehow don't know what The Shining is, it's a horror film. That one's an actual horror film, directed by Stanley Kubrick in 1980, I think, with Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall. And it's about this guy, Jack Torrance, who basically is asked as a job to take care of a hotel when it closes up for the winter. And he learns that a lot of weird shit is going on, not only in the hotel, but in his brain as well. And
it's we'll obviously talk about it in more detail in a bit, but
it's Stanley Kubrick is a director that I feel it might be a bit overrated, because any director that's considered as the best director of all time is probably a bit overrated, because I don't think any director deserves that status.
No director does. However, if it comes
Yeah.
into Stanley Kubrick's case, I might have to disagree and say that I don't think he's overrated. Because
Well,
I think
I'm not saying that he's like a bad director, but just
No,
saying like, he's
obviously.
not the best.
no,
Yeah.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that like I have yet to see a Stanley Kubrick movie that I haven't thought was amazing. Granted, I've only seen 2, and that was The Shining and Full Metal Jacket.
Uh-huh.
But I need
Yeah.
to go through his entire thing, and I'll obviously
Yeah.
I was gonna say this earlier, but I forgot. This list is not set in stone.
No.
Because I am still watching a lot of movies. I have currently like 400 movies on my watch list that I've
Yeah.
been slowly
Dude.
but surely getting through.
I'm just gonna say I think half of the films that are in my top 10 are films that I had not watched a year ago.
Yeah, like hold on, I think
So yeah.
like only I don't know. I actually that's the only 2 of the movies on my list are movies that I've seen recently. So
Yeah.
Do we want to move on to mine or
Yeah.
we done with
Yeah.
Shining?
Go ahead.
All right. My number 9 is another foreign film. I own it on Blu-ray. It is Parasite. So I don't know if Parasite is on your list or not. Hang on, I
Might be.
can't. It might be.
Might be.
So-
I don't know. So yeah, I know. I think we might have to do the same thing then. The Shining.
Yeah. Okay. Parasite.
But yeah.
Bong Joon-ho.
Let's
Beautiful film.
Just talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, it's a beautiful film. It's about this family that moves into a rich people's house and slowly takes over their house. It's a beautiful commentary about who's the real parasite in society. You know, it's amazing. We'll talk about it in more detail when it shows up on Phil's list, if it does.
Yeah, I mean, this film single-handedly got me into Asian cinema, but again, we're
completely.
gonna
I agree.
talk about it later.
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess then it is already then those number 9 went so quick.
Yeah.
So it is now time for my number 8, which is Ed Wood.
Ooh.
Yeah, do you know about this film?
I have never seen it.
Yeah, it's a film directed in I think it came out in the early 90s. Hold on, let me pull up the Letterboxd page. Right, so it was released in 1994, directed by none other than Tim Burton. And so basically it's a film about it's a biopic about an actual director whose name was Edward Wood Jr., often called referred as Ed Wood. So I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Not at all, actually.
You might have heard about one of his films called Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Oh, no way!
Yeah,
I've seen it. I've
alright,
seen
so
Plan 9. Oh,
all right.
Yes.
Ed Wood was a director that was active in Hollywood in the 1950s, and who at the time was considered as the single worst director of all time, and he's still called that to this day. And so in the film he's played by Johnny Depp, actually, because it is a Tim Burton film. And it's also got Bill Murray, who plays an amazingly funny character, and Sarah Jessica Parker, who's the girl in Sex and the City.
You had me sold at Bill Murray. I'm putting this on my watch list.
Yeah, dude. All right. What I love so much about this film is that I think Ed Wood, as a person, is so intriguing and interesting because, well, as I said, he's one of the worst directors that existed of all time, but you see it in the film, and from what I've heard, that was true. He was so passionate about movies. He loved movies so much. He loved making movies so much. It was his entire life. But for some reason, he just had a bunch of bad ideas and stuff like that that just made that his movies, even with his passion, they just sucked and they were terrible. And so the story in itself is really interesting. I really like that. So Tim Burton, no, Ed Wood was a really good friend with Bela Lugosi, who is this legendary actor who was the actor who played Dracula in the Universal monster movies, and he became friends with him at the end of his career when he was an old man who didn't really get any movies, any contracts and everything. So they became friends and they started making movies, and their friendship is honestly one of the best and most interesting friendships to see on screen, and it's really fun to watch. Something that I thought about this week when thinking about the top 10 and thinking about this film is that I think this film is very similar in a lot of ways to, I don't know if you've seen the film Mank by
Not
David
quite
Fincher.
yet. Again,
All right.
this is going to be like a catchphrase of mine, I swear to God. Throughout this entire podcast, you're just going to hear, it's on my list.
Dude, I mean, same.
Yeah, because it's just
so many
like,
people.
Because I don't know, recently I was at a family gathering, and obviously since I do movie stuff now, a lot of my family was just like, did you see this movie? And I'm like, it's on my list.
Dude, there's too many good movies to see.
There's way too many.
Oh man, it's crazy. Mank is the latest film directed by David Fincher, who may or may not come back in this list. And he basically it's a film about the guy who wrote Citizen Kane, and it's about how he wrote it and everything. And so there's a lot of similar things about how it's about a person who was very important in the history of Hollywood, and it's a film made in black and white and everything. And so if we compare those films, I think that Ed Wood definitely is a better film in my opinion, just because I think the story is more interesting and everything. It's a Tim Burton film, but in my opinion, it's one of his films that looks the least like a Tim Burton film. It's there are definitely scenes and things such as Johnny Depp that remind you, oh yeah, it's Tim Burton. But no, yeah. So this one is just really good, and it's a great story about if you're someone interested in the entire process of making a film and everything. I highly recommend this film. It's I think that's all I had to say. It's really good.
Well, I will definitely be checking that out, and we might have to do.
Yeah.
Honestly, we probably will do episodes on like every movie that we mention.
Oh, we have to.
I'm assuming so, because like there's no way we can just mention that we love these movies so much and just never talk about it again.
I mean, yeah. Mm-hmm. So, what is your number 8?
My number 8 is, I don't own it on Blu-ray or anything quite yet, but my number 8 is The Social Network, directed by David Fincher.
All right.
And is it on your list at all?
It is not.
Okay, then we can talk about it. The Social Network.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
The Social Network is a 2010 film about the story of Mark Zuckerberg and Eduardo Saverin and the creation of Facebook. And it is probably one of the most perfect movies I've seen. I can't really think of a flaw in any part of the movie. It has Jesse Eisenberg. It has oh god, what's his name? Andrew Garfield playing like the performance of his life, I swear. And like it has, oh god, what's his name? Who plays the Winklevoss twins? Armie Hammer. That's it. It has double Armie Hammers, which is hilarious to me.
Which I'll be honest, before I watched the film, I didn't know who Armie Hammer was. So
Yeah,
I thought
neither
he
did
just
I.
hired twins.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, for honestly,
'Cause
that I was so surprised
yeah.
when I learned that on my second viewing. I was like, what?
No, because the effect is really well made.
It's insanely well made. But yeah, no. So social network. I can't really say. I guess I can't really think I have too much else to say about it. It's just the dialogue is incredible. The everything.
So what? Hold on.
Yeah, you
The
can
film
take that
was
one.
written. Yeah. The film was written by what's his name?
Aaron Sorkin.
Yeah, and this film has the fucking best dialogues and everything that I've heard in a long time. The dialogues are amazing.
It's
And
so.
I don't know, just
It is so damn funny in some parts. I can't remember.
oh man, it's like dude, you know what's funny is I think last month I saw a guy on TikTok who went to Harvard with Mark Zuckerberg, and he said how so many things in the film are true, and actually Mark Zuckerberg in real life was even weirder and than he was in the film, and
That's incredible.
he had this huge mentality of which is kind of similar in the film, where he kind of think of himself as superior mentally than the people around him. And well, yeah, no, as you said, the everything in this film is so good. I just thought about something. I have a really funny story about this film.
Go right ahead.
So my brother, who I already mentioned before, hates this film
Really?
because he saw it when it came out in theaters, and he told me that, and he kept telling me this for so many years, right until I saw the film. He kept saying that the film is only people screaming at each other for 2 hours, and there's nothing else going on in the film, which is outrageous.
Yeah, that's a gross overstatement. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess I could see how some people might think that. I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
You mentioned this. You mentioned this when we were talking, just you and I, last week, and I still can't believe it.
Oh, did I mention it last week?
No. Oh, yeah. You did, because we were talking about social network.
All right, forgot. All right. Yeah, all right, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, should we go with my number? What is it? Number 7 now?
Yeah. We can move on. I'm good.
All right. Number 7 is interesting. It is the first Criterion film of the list, and I know it's a film that I mentioned last week when you talked. It is Harold and Maude, which is again. Let me pull up the Letterboxd page. All right. It is a film directed and released in 1971, directed by Hal Ashby. So this film is about a 20-something-year-old guy called Harold, who is just passionate about death. The thing he likes to do the most during his free time is to simulate suicides. Like, the very first scene in the film is him hanging himself, well, simulating that he hangs himself and everything. And his other favorite hobby is yeah, I see your face. That's
I love
about
this.
the face I
I'm
Yeah, no, it's great.
I'm already hooked.
yeah. And so his other favorite pastime is going to funerals, not of people that he knows, but just random people, just because he likes the idea of a bunch of people reuniting in a place just to cry and mourn a person. And in one of those funerals, he meets Maude, a 79-year-old lady who also, just like him, really likes to go to funerals, but for another completely different way. She likes to go to a funeral just because she really likes the idea of death, because she likes kind of with the circle of life and everything, how, like, you know, a life ends and another life starts, that kind of stuff. So she, you know, it's like you've got Harold, who's got a very negative view of the world, and Maude, who on the other hand has a very positive view of the world. And so they they talk to each other and they end up becoming friends. And Maude basically teaches Harold his view of her view of the world. Sorry, and basically teaches Harold how to be a more positive person. And so this film might. Some people might not like this one because I said they develop a friendship, which in the end ends up being a romance. And I get that some people probably don't want to see a romance between a 20-something-year-old and a 79-year-old. But the way this film is, they make it like really not that weird. And I don't know, it's just made in a way that's very it's a great romantic film, honestly.
We have to watch this to talk about this movie because I need to watch this.
Oh, yeah, dude, you have to watch this. It's so I saw, the way I discovered this film is I saw a video about Taika Waititi, who directed Jojo Rabbit and Thor Ragnarok, and he was talking about a bunch of films that he likes, and he mentioned this film. And I can just say that Taika Waititi has really good taste, because this film, as I said, one of the best romance I've seen in many years. One of the best, one of the best films about life, which kind of sounds weird to say, but it really is. And it's, I don't know, it's just a really nice film. I don't really have that much else to add about it. But I definitely think that if you never heard about this film, you should try to watch it, because it is fantastic.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so I think that's it for.
I'm very excited for when we talk about that.
Yeah.
All right.
So I guess now it is time for your what is it now? Number
7.
6 or 7? 7.
It's still 7. Yeah. So my number 7 is the 2003 South Korean Old Boy, directed by Park Chan-wook. I'm pretty sure. I think that was his name.
Park Chan-wook.
Yes. Yeah, I was correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, 2003 Old Boy. It is probably one of the best directed films I've ever seen, as well as acted. The acting behind the performance behind Oh Dae-soo, and the antagonist, I can't remember his name for the life of me right now, but both of their performances, both of their characters are just phenomenal, and everything with, I don't know, I'm really bad at articulating my feelings off the cuff, but
right.
I don't know. Old Boy is, I don't know, it's another one of those movies that I just see as completely perfect. And it's probably the worst example of a Western remake of another.
I was
of an
I was
international
gonna
film. And
no,
I have,
was gonna
oh, sorry.
So sorry, I was gonna say, like, we were gonna have to mention this, because I was gonna ask, like, as a joke, oh, what do you prefer between the original and the remake?
Oh boy,
but yeah,
I have a terrible confession to make. The first version of this film that I saw was the American version.
No fucking way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Really?
And I watched it and I went, you know what? That's okay. I was like, that's decent. And then out of curiosity, out of pure curiosity, it was New Year's Day of 2020. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna watch Old Boy. I'm gonna watch the 2003 South Korean version, and it blew me away. And then I went back and watched Spike Lee's version. Spike Lee, by the way, he's a good director. He has made some very good films in the past. So I don't know why the hell this Old Boy version sucks so bad.
You know why?
Why?
Because he didn't give... I saw making-ofs and interviews of the film. And so Spike Lee did not give a single shit about this film. Because what I heard...
did not.
Yeah, well, from what I heard, it was a kind of situation where it was like, the studios told him, all right, we're gonna give you the fundings to make this film that you really want to make and that you're passionate about, only if you are gonna make a remake of Old Boy. And so he's like, all right, sure, I'll do it, sure. And that was the kind of project that he wasn't passionate at all for. So that's why the film ended up being shit. And the best example to that is the hallway scene.
God. Okay.
Which is
eventually we need to do like a very extra long special of Old Boy South Korean versus American. Or something.
Oh, that would
like
be cool.
That would be so much fun. But
that would be great.
What I will say right here is that like Old Boy South Korea is so like it has so much subtlety, so much nuance to how it tells its story, so much amazing camera work. Like, there's just so much amazing stuff in it. And then you get to...
It's a masterpiece.
It's a masterpiece. And then you get to Old Boy America. And it is... Holy shit. It's just, like... it's the most, like, non-subtle, like, Americanized garbage I've ever seen. And I'm not one of those people that like to say, like, that I hate... like big blockbusters, because I like me a good like blockbuster every now and then, but this is it. This is it at its absolute worst. It's just such a brainless, soulless movie, and honestly, at this point, we've spent more time talking about the American version than the South Korean version, because there's honestly not much more to say about the South Korean version. It's perfect. If you want, if you want the definitive video on Old Boy South Korea versus America, watch Your Movie Sucks video about...
I saw that.
About that video, because it is beautifully done. It's like, it's funny.
It's amazing.
It's funny. It's like just a great video. Honestly, I might watch it after we finish recording. Because it is one of my it's one of my favorite reviews ever. But yeah, Old Boy 2003, one of my favorite movies of all time. It's beautiful. Yeah. Watch it if you haven't. Or if you can't get a hold of it, I understand. Because I can't either. Because you want to know something? They don't make Old Boy copies for Region A DVD players anymore. At least not that I could find.
So, now it is time for my number 6. And,
yes, it is.
Well, you will be very happy to hear that it is none other than motherfucking Parasite.
Woo!
So we're finally going to talk about how fucking amazing this film is.
Ooh.
So, alright. Parasite is, again, as we said, a 2019 film directed by Bong Joon-ho. And so Bong Joon-ho is actually someone who I'd heard about before Parasite, because one of the French YouTubers that talks about movies that I really like is a very big fan of Bong Joon-ho and has been for many years. And so I'd never seen any of his films, but I was familiar with him.
Yeah, it was the same. It was the same for me, because I believe I heard about him when Okja came out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so then Parasite came out, and there was all the nominations at the Golden Globes and everything, and then the Oscars, and then holy shit, a Korean film won Best Picture at the Academy Award. What?
That was the last time I ever watched the Oscars live, and I'm glad that it was the last, because when they said Parasite for Best Picture, I cheered, because I thought they were gonna go with like, oh god, what else was nominated that year?
I know Joker was a big one that people said, are they gonna?
There was no way. There was no way that Joker was gonna win. That would have been hilarious, but there was no way. Joker is a great movie. I'm just saying. I don't think it would have won.
Yeah.
But I thought they definitely were gonna go with like a safer choice. But the fact that they chose Parasite made me have just the faintest glimmer of hope for the Academy. Just a little bit.
Right. Yeah. And so when I watched the Academies, I had not seen it yet, and then I think the week later I thought, all right, I have to watch it, and then I watched it, and this film is just perfect.
Mm-hmm.
In the way that is, I mean, I feel like it's kind of boring to say that Parasite is a perfect film because there's been so many like video essays about the film, and everything is just, yeah, of course it's a fucking great film. Everyone knows that. But yeah, I couldn't exactly tell you what about this film was so perfect because, well, just like you, I'm not that great at like kind of articulating my opinions on movies, but there's it just when you watch it, it just feels right.
It's
Like there's not a single there's not a single moment in the film that makes you think, oh yeah, I'm not quite sure about that. Throughout the entire film, you're just enjoying yourself and you're feeling what the characters are feeling and everything. And well, I'm not really gonna spoil the film because maybe some people have not seen it, but
yeah.
halfway through the film, there is a scene, and you know what scene I'm talking about.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, the scene that changes everything.
Whew. It is.
It's and dude, when the film when I saw the film, when that scene happened, I had the biggest fucking freak out I'd ever had watching a film.
Oh man.
And it's like, because somehow for the longest time I thought Parasite was a horror movie, which it's not. It's maybe a thriller, but not a horror film.
At like the least definition of a thriller, it is. I don't know. Parasite is one of those movies for me that like defies all description. I can't even really put a genre on Parasite if I'm being honest.
No, yeah, it's not really a genre film, no, but yeah, no, this film just feels so perfect. I showed it to my my brother, another one that I talked about, but another one, and he had the same exact reaction where he like couldn't believe what he was watching and everything, and yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's it's incredible.
Yeah.
It's a movie that I showed to my girlfriend like about a month after I watched it, and the my girlfriend and I watch a lot of movies together. Usually the movies that we watch are like, I don't know, new for both of us. But I'm always afraid when I show her new stuff that I love because it's always like, you know, it might be a little too weird for her tastes or like anybody's, honestly. But she loved Parasite. Like, it was one of the first subtitled movies she saw, I believe. But it was one of her favorite movies that I ever showed her, and I completely see why, because I love that movie as well.
All right, so I guess that it is now your turn for the number 6.
Number 6. Okay. We're going to enter a long streak of me actually owning these movies now. So, number 6 is actually one of the first Blu-rays I ever bought. And that is Spirited Away.
All right. Awesome.
And, I mean, what can I really say that hasn't already been said about Spirited Away? It's in a way, it's a little, like, I don't know. I still have the battle in my brain every single day as to whether I like this or Totoro more. It's those movies fighting for dominance in my head all the time, but Spirited Away usually wins. So I just decided to put Spirited Away on the list.
Well, for me, actually, my favorite film from Ghibli and from Miyazaki is actually Howl's Moving Castle.
That is that's my third favorite.
All right. Yeah, no, I just love this film, and it's really great because I don't know if it was the same in the U.S., but Netflix Canada recently, like no, I think it was last year, they added literally all the Ghibli films.
It was.
And it's like if you're going to.
It was HBO Max for us.
Yeah.
Which I have HBO Max, so.
All right. Well,
so I can't complain. I can't complain.
Mm-hmm. But if you go in the anime movie section in Netflix, it's nothing but Ghibli films. And so I got to watch quite a few. And well, yeah, now Spirited Away is just all right. I feel like that's maybe kind of a cliche thing to say, but Miyazaki films are films that you don't watch; they're films that you live.
I think you're very correct in saying that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you.
In terms of just talking about the movie and why it's one of my favorites, it's obvious. It's very perfect. It's very perfect. Like it's beautifully structured, beautifully animated. There's not really much bad I can say about it. But it also has one of my favorite personal stories from movie watching that I've ever had.
All right.
So,
Go ahead.
okay. Going into a bit of personal things, I have never been good at math. So, when I was...
Same thing here.
I was, I believe, in second grade. I had taken a math test one day, and I bombed it. It was terrible. I got really bad grade on it, and I didn't want to tell my mom. So my stepdad was the principal of the middle school at that time, and we would spend a lot of evenings there. And I would bring my portable DVD player, and Mom would rent movies for me. And one night, she just coincidentally rented Spirited Away for me.
Huh.
And I was watching it on my little portable DVD player, and I was mystified by it. I'd never seen anything like it ever, and I didn't know. I was like, this is amazing. I got halfway through, and then my mom goes, "Oh yeah, didn't you have that math test today?" And I went, "Oh, yeah." And she's like, "Can I see it?" And I went, "No." And she was just like, "Alec, show me your bag." And I I walked over to the bag and tried to prevent her from opening it, and she forced it open and saw that I bombed the test. And she was just like, "All right, you're done." Took away my DVD player and was just like, "You're not watching anything for the rest of the night just because you lied." And I was like, "No." So I cried. I forgot what the movie was called, and then literally, I think 6 years later, my dad and I are going to the movie theater to watch Spirited Away because it was showing. And I just had completely blanked on anything that happened in the movie. And as I was watching it in the theater, I'm like, Jesus, that's the movie! I was like, that's the movie that I saw. And then literally the week after, I went out and bought it on Blu-ray and watched it 2 more times. So Spirited Away is probably my favorite animated movie. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I have such great memories watching it. So yeah, that's my number 6 and my story behind it.
So, now it is the top 5.
Ooh.
Now we're going somewhere.
We're in the big leagues.
So, yeah. So my number 5 is a film that I didn't actually realize that I considered it as one of my favorite films until a few weeks ago when I thought about it and was like, yeah, no, this film is amazing, and it's one of my favorite films of all time. It is Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
I have been meaning to watch that. I've been meaning to watch that movie for a very long time. I still have not.
Yeah, it's amazing. So, the film is directed by Edgar Wright, who people know for directing the Three Flavor Cornetto trilogy, which includes Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End. And recently, a few years ago, directed Baby Driver, which a lot of people talked about and a lot of people liked. And at the end of this year he's making his releasing his new film called Last Night in Soho, which is his only purely non-comedy film, purely horror film, which I'm very excited about.
I'm very excited for that. My friend works in a movie theater, and I want to ask him to snatch that poster for me when he can.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh no,
yeah,
it's a
no,
great poster.
I'm very excited to see Last Night in Soho.
Yeah.
Or is it Late Night? I don't remember. But yeah, anyway, Scott Pilgrim.
Last night, yeah. Scott Pilgrim is the first Edgar Wright film that I watched. I watched it when it came out, so I must was in 2010, so I must have been 7 years old.
Ooh.
And then I watched it and kind of forgot about it. And then a few years ago, when I discovered Edgar Wright and everything, I thought I should probably rewatch it. And I thought it was going to be just kind of a dumb comedy film, and I realized that, oh no, it is so much more. It's the best comedy, the best action film, the best it's the best of many things. It's all right. Well, the story is the story of Scott Pilgrim, which is a guy who's in a band called the Sex Bob-ombs, and who also is being judged by his friends because he's 20-something-year-old, and he dates a 17-year-old, which his friends think is weird. But then he meets another girl called Ramona, who, well, then he ends up ditching that 17-year-old for her, and basically he discovers that if he wants to date her, he has to beat her 7 evil exes in different fights and different things like that. And so yeah, that's basically the film. And the film might just be the most entertaining film of all time. It's there something in that's something with Edgar Wright's style, that he's just always so like really how can I say, I don't want to say fast because I feel like that's not really representative enough.
It's tight. It's
tight.
Yeah.
Very tight. And there's a lot of jokes that are made that are with like the editing and stuff like that. And well, for example, a very very funny scene where Scott jumps through a window, which, well, once you see the film,
that's like one of the only ones I've seen, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, dude, it's the funniest scene. And it's like the action scenes are incredibly good. There's so many things in the film that are inspired by video games, even though this film is not about video games. There's a lot of inspiration from it, and obviously the people who made the film were very into video games, and which makes the action scenes feel like they were from a video game, and they're so good. The special effects are amazing, and it's like the film actually wasn't really a good success. It kind of bombed at the box office, which is crazy because it's so good. And so, yeah, if you just want a good film to sit down and enjoy, I highly recommend Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
Yeah, I recently picked up the Cornetto trilogy on Blu-ray, and we'll be watching it very soon. And I intend to do the same thing with Scott Pilgrim. I'm gonna say for until a few days ago, I didn't have Scott Pilgrim at that place. I had Hot Fuzz, which is part of the Cornetto trilogy. But then I thought, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna switch them up, because I realized that I actually preferred Scott Pilgrim. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think it's a very good choice. All right, are we moving on to my number 5?
Go ahead.
All right, my number 5 is the first and only Criterion on this list. It is The Royal Tenenbaums by Wes Anderson. And I limited myself to only one Wes Anderson movie for the list. So, The Royal Tenenbaums is about this guy named Royal, played by Gene Hackman, and he's very estranged to his wife and his 3 kids who are now adults. So he decides to hatch a ploy, to hatch a plan that he tells his estranged family that he's dying so that he can spend some extra time with them. And basically, it's very bittersweet in a lot of ways. It's very funny. It's one of the best like humor movies that I love, and it's just everything. It's another one of those movies that like the fact that it's up here so high, like above other movies I consider perfect, is really interesting because I would actually say that this is not Wes Anderson's best film. I would say his best is Grand Budapest Hotel. But every time I go back to thinking about what my favorite is, I can't deny how much I love the Royal Tenenbaums. Right. So it's like there's so many amazing performances. There's obviously Gene Hackman, like I mentioned. There's Ben Stiller. There's there's Owen Wilson, Luke Wilson, who are just staples in Wes Anderson at this point. So is Bill Murray, Angelica Houston, Gwyneth Paltrow. They're all incredible in this movie. And the characters are so funny. And there's not really much more I gotta say. I love this movie. And it's...
Yeah.
It's probably...
Yeah,
actually, I think it was the first Criterion I ever owned. If I had to remember right. Yeah. So, that's...
Yeah, I've seen most of Wes Anderson's films. The only 3 films that I haven't seen are The Darjeeling Limited, Bottle Rocket, and the Royal Tenenbaums. And honestly, I'll be honest, I thought about maybe watching a film after we're done with this. That might be it. Watching a Wes Anderson film sounds like a lot of fun right now, so I might do that.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Royal Tenenbaums is one of my favorite movies, and I can't wait to talk about it on here more in depth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, anyway, move on to your number 4.
Well, all right. So here's the thing. It's funny that you mentioned that the best Wes Anderson film was the Grand Budapest Hotel, because it just happens to be my number 4.
That's really funny.
So, I heard you say that and I was like, oh, he doesn't know what's going to happen. This is going to blow his mind. So, yeah. And unfortunately, it's the last Criterion that is going to be on my list, and so then on both of our lists. But can I just say also the Criterion box set is amazing.
Beautiful.
Love it.
Yeah.
And
I own, by the way, this will probably come up if we ever talk, when we ever talk about Wes Anderson again. I own every Wes Anderson film on Criterion or Blu-ray if it's not available in Criterion, which is only one of them. That was that was my Christmas gift to myself, because I only had a couple Criterion movies. I was like, whatever, all the Wes Andersons.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm gonna get there eventually.
Yeah, no, it's...
Yeah.
It was one of the first...
I only have this one, but...
It's... like I said, Grand Budapest is a great one.
Yeah. So Grand Budapest is, again, filmed by Wes Anderson, released in 2014, about Monsieur Gustave, who is the owner of a hotel called the Grand Budapest Hotel, and who is basically accused of murdering Tilda Swinton's character, who is an actress that I really like. Mm-hmm. And basically he and his lobby boy Zero, who ends up being his best friend, they basically go on this big adventure to trying to prove that he's innocent and everything. And there's also a romance story with Saoirse Ronan, I think is how you pronounce her name. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think so.
Agatha is the name of the character. Yeah. I think I googled it a few months ago and that was the answer. So, so I'm pretty sure I told you that last time we talked, but I was talking with a friend about Wes Anderson, and she said that Wes Anderson is the kind of director that every single one of his movies are about a very specific thing that reaches to very specific people, so that which means that every single person is going to have a different a different favorite Wes Anderson film, and so for example, her favorite Wes Anderson was Life Aquatic, and it's Life Aquatic might be one of my least favorite from him, even though I still really liked it.
Life Aquatic is my third favorite, and if I'm being honest, Life Aquatic kind of makes me cry whenever I watch it.
Oh well, yeah. I think it's his most emotional film, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, and
I love that one.
Yeah, something also that's really interesting with Wes Anderson, especially with the Grand Budapest Hotel. I don't know if you I'm curious about your opinion on that. Do you think would you consider Wes Anderson's movies as comedies?
I would more consider it. You really do have to take it case by case. Because with Bottle Rocket, very much a comedy. Because it focuses on just the zany aspects of what they're doing much more. Movies like Life Aquatic is much more drama oriented. Royal Tenenbaums is a good mix of the both. Fantastic Mr. Fox is a lot more comedy oriented. But I would have to say overall, every movie of his has hits this very precise point of being both very dramatic and emotional, but also being really funny.
I think it might be because all of his film have some kind of I don't know if that's the right word, but almost childish point of view. It almost makes you feel that like the film was written by a kid, not in a bad way, but in the way that there's a I don't know. There's something. They're not kids' movies, but they make you feel like they are.
Mm-hmm. I think the way I would say it is they're written with so much heart that you can really just get it from watching it. And I appreciate his work a lot, and I will talk about it a lot in the future. But yeah, no, Wes is great, and Grand Budapest is a great movie.
Yeah. Amazing, yeah. And Ralph Fiennes in this film is amazing. He's so fucking good.
His delivery of dialogue is the funniest thing I've ever heard. There's the scene where he's in the prison, and they say the one of the prisoners says something like you're extremely straight, and Gustav just goes, well, I've never heard anything like that before. It is so good.
No, I think my favorite bit of dialogue is when he's being accused of the murder, and it's like, oh, I knew it was weird that we never got a cause of death. She's been murdered. And you think I did it. And just runs away.
And you think I did it.
And yeah.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's like there's just Edward Norton as a policeman who's just so confused, like, the fuck is going on?
Yeah, no, it's so good. All right.
Amazing. Love this film. So, what is your fourth film?
My number 4 was a movie that I watched not expecting to love it as much as I did. That is Damien Chazelle's La La Land.
Oh, all right.
I adore this movie. There's really not much more I can say. I have such it might not be like the most like perfect movie ever made, but it's one of the movies that I just have so much pure love for that whenever I watch it I feel infatuated with what I'm watching. It's so like glamorous, it's so upbeat, it's so crazy in how it wants to present like all of its musical numbers. The musical numbers are great. This is probably my favorite musical that I've ever seen. I I love pretty much everything about the way that this movie is made. It's just it's really good, and I'll definitely be talking about it in the future.
Yeah. Well, so it's that's kind of an interesting situation because I think I had kind of like the opposite experience with the film where I didn't like it as much as I thought I would.
Really? Okay.
Because all right, because here's the thing, I'm a really big musical fan. Like I love musical theater. I love Disney musicals and everything, and which you could probably guess with my YouTube channel, right?
Yes, I
Yeah, right. And well, so the thing is that I didn't. I feel like this film was, while it was marketed as a musical, and while it is a musical, it's not. It's more focused on being a film telling a story than actually being a musical.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Yeah, and so I think that's what kind of like what I was kind of disappointed about. But I'm not saying that the film is bad. I think it's still a really good film.
Yeah.
But in what I'm gonna say to make the more sense is most of the films that I'm talking about in this list are films that I watched for the first time, and then a few months later they were still in my head. I was still like, oh my god, this film is still so good, and I still like this one so much. Even it's still so fresh in my head, even a few months after watching it. And I thought that it was going to be the same thing with La La Land, and it wasn't. I kind of forgot about the film after I watched it, and so yeah, it just didn't really like.
It's very interesting
Yeah.
that you and I had very opposite experiences with it, because what ended up happening was I had heard about the movie, obviously, because I was following movies really closely at that time in my life, which I still am.
Yeah.
But I was over at one of my dad's friend's house, and they're like, hey, let's watch a movie tonight, because that's what we would do over there a lot. And they're like, let's watch La La Land. And we watched it, and I went into it not really expecting much, because at that point in my life, I wasn't a big musical guy. I'm still not. I love a good... don't get me wrong, I love a good musical. Like, I
of course
really like a few musicals, but I was taken aback by this movie. Much like Royal Tenenbaums, it is one of the more beautiful experiences I've had watching a movie, because it's very... That's really the way I can describe it, is that it's beautiful. But yeah, I I like a lot of the things about this movie. If I can, I'm trying to think of. I don't really know what I could say to criticize it now that I think about it. Which, obviously we'll probably end up talking about it in the future sometime or later. Who knows?
Of course, yeah.
All right.
And who knows? Maybe when I'm gonna watch it for that episode, I'm gonna like it more.
Who knows? Yeah, there a lot of opinions may change in the course of this podcast.
And just realize that like most of those films are films that I've only watched once, so I don't know.
I've seen every one of these movies at least twice.
Yeah, I don't know. Like out of the ones that I've talked about, the only ones that I've seen twice are Ed Wood, Parasite, and Scott Pilgrim.
The only ones I haven't seen more than once are Old Boy and End of Evangelion.
Right.
But everyone else I've seen multiple times. But yeah,
who knows, dude? If this podcast ends up lasting a year, well, next year we could make a sort of a follow up.
Ooh,
talking
that's
about like
a good
what
idea.
changed.
That's a good idea. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
Because I'm sure that like I know kind of like what my top 10 looked like a year ago, and it was nothing like this.
Oh, of course, yeah. All right, so it's time for your. Yeah, so we're in the top three.
Top three. All right. My number 3 is so I mentioned about like I thought that La La Land was gonna be one of those films that I watched and then it just stays in my head. This film is a great example of that. It is Fight Club, the classic film, which I somehow had never seen until summer of 2020.
I have never seen it still.
Ah,
Yeah,
well, all right.
that is one of my great failures as a cinephile.
Yeah, for a long time that was one of mine, and so it's also my first David Fincher film. Who I ended up watching a bunch of his films later on, and I didn't really expect that much going in, and I don't know, it just blew my mind. It's amazing, and it's I was even many months later, even a year later, I was still thinking about it, like very often, and which doesn't happen to me a lot. And so I don't know, just a film. I think is one of those cases where I watched the film at the right time. I think that's really it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so Fight Club, I think, was released in 1999, directed by David Fincher, who we mentioned earlier because he made Social Network,
Mm-hmm.
and it's about the I don't remember his name, but the character of Edward Norton, who ends up meeting in during a flight, ends up meeting Brad Pitt's character, and they start being friends. They end up being roommate because Edward Norton's apartment ends up blowing up. That's another thing. It happens in like the first 15 minutes, so it's not a spoiler at all.
Yeah.
And they end up forming a fight club, just because. Why the fuck not?
Yeah. Before you continue, I should note the only thing I do
Yeah.
know about Fight Club is the big spoiler. Yeah, so I should mention though, let's not mention it. let's stay away from it a bit and then save that for when Fight Club eventually gets its own episode.
I'm actually really surprised that I got to live, like, cause when I saw it, I didn't know about it, so I'm really surprised that I got to live the first 17 years of my life without knowing about this, because it's one of the most famous spoilers in movies like this and The Sixth Sense.
Yeah,
Like
both
the two big ones.
both of those were ruined for me at a very early age in my film watching days. Like I was like
Yeah.
13 when that got messed up for me.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, they end up forming a fight club, which is just them reuniting to fight with a bunch of other people and everything, and it just gradually goes more and more and more, and then it just becomes out of control for Edward Norton. And no, yeah, it's a very kind of like stressful film, I'd say,
Yeah.
in many ways, especially for Edward Norton's character, who just so there's so much stuff going on in his life, and I don't know. It's again a very entertaining film, and yeah, it made me fall in love with David Fincher's movies.
Yeah, Fincher's a great director and I can't wait to watch more from him.
Yeah, no, I've seen the vast majority of his films. I think one of the only ones that I haven't seen is Alien 3.
Oh, well. That's the one
Yeah.
you can that's the one you can legally
That's
skip.
the one, yeah. Yeah, let's be honest, it doesn't count.
No, it
Yeah.
for the longest time nobody knew it was a David Fincher movie because it took his name off of it, which is hilarious to me.
Uh-huh. And I mean, I would have probably done the same.
Yeah. Oh god.
Yeah.
All right. Are we moving on
Yeah.
to mine?
Yes. What is your number 3?
Okay. I don't know. I didn't know if I wanted to include this one on the list until like just today. But
Okay.
it's probably my most cliche pick, if I had to say.
Oh, all right, sure. That's fine.
It's
Yeah.
like it's the cliche like film guy movie.
Ha. All right.
It's Pulp Fiction by Quentin Tarantino.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
sure.
I
mean,
I can't deny it. It's
it's
impeccably made.
amazing.
It's one of the most entertaining movies out there. Literally, I can pop on this movie like anytime and just watch through all of it, and it's
Yeah.
just great. Dialogue,
Yeah.
cinematography,
I mean, yeah.
all of it's great.
We talked about dialogues when we were talking about Social Network, but this is another great example. Extremely quotable dialogues.
Pulp Fiction.
All of Samuel L. Jackson's lines.
Pulp Fiction is one of the most. It is the only movie that I quote on the regular with my friends.
Yeah, dude. Well, all right. Obviously, for some reason, I can't remember any of his lines, but
I remember
the
quite
two scenes.
a few.
The scene in the diner where he quotes the Bible, which is one of the best scenes I've seen. So good.
I had a friend recently. He was wondering. He was like, "What does Sam Jackson say to the one guy in the corner when he starts talking?" And I went, "Oh yeah." I was like, and I made him lose his mind in the car. And I just went, "I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing."
Oh no, it's like
Sam Jackson is so like snappy and like crazy in that movie. Oh, I love it.
In that same scene, there's a guy panicking. He's like, "What? Say what? Say what? One more goddamn time."
Yeah, it's been talked about to death already, and like I said, it's the cliche film guy movie.
Yeah.
Like I really do. I don't think I hate saying it's one of my favorite movies, but there definitely is a moment where I'm like, oh, should I say that? Yeah. No, it's amazing. Obviously.
I get it. I just thought of a very funny story. About this. So this year was my first year in film school, and at the beginning of the year, one of my classes, the teacher decided to do something so that we can all get to know each other and everything. So she said, "All right, everyone's gonna say their name, what kind of job they'd like to do, like director, screenwriter, and that kind of stuff, and what is their favorite director." We were 23 students in that class. And I want to say that 19 students say that their favorite director was Quentin Tarantino.
He's great. He's great.
I thought, he's great. He's great.
He's phenomenal. But he's the cliche film director guy.
He is. Yeah, and I've obviously heard about the cliche that every single film student's favorite director is Quentin Tarantino, and I didn't. I thought, oh yeah, it's a cliche. It's obviously going to be. Obviously, there's going to be a bunch of people whose favorite director is Tarantino, but I didn't expect that much. I think I didn't say Tarantino. I said. We're going to talk about it later because there might be another list of other favorite directors coming next. And I think another person said Martin Scorsese, and there were two other people that said something else, and that's it. Everyone else, Quentin Tarantino. I remember also there was one guy who said I don't know who he said but he didn't say Tarantino, and then he just said his source and said because of this and that, and then he just said, and by the way, I think that Tarantino is overrated, and then he muted his microphone.
Oh,
I thought that was so fucking funny.
Oh my god!
And by the way, I disagree with all of you guys. Shut up.
The bait is strong. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I loved it. That was so good.
All right. So what's your number two?
So I don't own this one on DVD, but it is another kind of I wouldn't say cliche, but it's a very common film to put high in the top 10s, and it's a film that was very important to me in my cinephile life. It is Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump is fantastic.
Directed in 1994 by Robert Zemeckis with Forrest Gump. Tom Hanks, Tom Hanks is the fucking best. Can we just clear that out? He's amazing.
Oh yeah, he's fantastic.
And so it's kind of a joke in my family that like every one of us in my family, our favorite film is all Forrest Gump, because like in terms of movie, we all have kind of like different tastes, and Forrest Gump is the one film that kind of like unifies us, and it's like, all right, for this film, it's like our family's holy grail, you know. And I don't know what it is about this film, but it's like I saw it pretty young. I think I was 11 years old when I first saw it, and it's kind of the film that made me think, all right, yeah, kids' films are nice, but that's more like an adult film, you know. Like there were sex scenes. There's a film where Forrest touched Jenny's boobs. Like, oh dang, you know, that kind of stuff. And,
that scene
but
was
besides
that scene was not funny to me at all until I was like 17. I don't know why, but like that scene didn't get me as good. But like I watched it again with my girlfriend, and it was just the scene where it just so good.
Yeah, I get it. Amazing. And it's like I'm not a person who generally rewatches a lot of my favorite movies. I've seen Forrest Gump, I think, 6 times.
Yeah.
Just because, like, once in a while, it's like, oh, you know what? Gonna rewatch Forrest Gump because that's what I need tonight.
I'd say I've seen it like I've probably seen it like 4 times.
Yeah, and it's you know it's just a film that makes me feel things, which is I don't know, it's just so well made, and it's a film that opened me up to so many other films, and it's one of the films that made me like a cinephile. That's what I tend to say.
It's a very respectful choice. Forrest Gump's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, well, it's yeah, I said it's like one of my favorite, my family's holy grail, but it's like 3 films. It's Forrest Gump, Shawshank Redemption, and The Green Mile, which are 3 amazing films.
The only one I haven't seen out of those is Shawshank. I've seen Green Mile.
Yeah,
and it's yeah,
and it's so insane to think that like Green Mile and Shawshank are based off Stephen King novels, and it's like the It guy. The guy who made an orgy scene with teenagers.
Stephen King.
The Green Mile and Shawshank.
Stephen King might be
tangent.
Stephen King might be the best based on author ever, because his books on their own aren't great. They're great. They're fine.
I've never read a single one, so I can't say.
I've read like half of it, and it's or not like half, like maybe a quarter.
All right.
And it's like pretty good.
It's a brick.
Yeah, but
it's a fucking brick.
It is a gigantic book. I have it somewhere at my dad's house. Yeah. And it's just, but like,
it's so ridiculous. Yeah.
But the movies that are made off of his films or off of his books, whoo! Like, you have some of the greatest horror movies ever, and also some of the worst. Let's get that out of the way. Maximum Overdrive, Dreamcatcher.
Yeah, no, he's got some pretty... Yeah.
Yeah, there's like... Oh, God, what else was there? There's...
I don't remember the name, but Stephen King directed one adaptation of his books, and apparently it's one of his worst ones. I can't remember the name, though.
He did... There was... and we can talk about this more in a bit, but he did direct a miniseries based off of his book, The Shining, because he hates the Kubrick adaptation.
Yeah.
And it is, from what I've heard, one of the worst adaptations of his work, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
I don't think he directed it, now that I say that, but I know he was involved.
I think he might have been like a lot more involved with that one than with the Kubrick. Yeah.
But yeah, that's a tangent for a little bit.
Yeah, because we were talking about Forrest Gump and we got to Stephen King. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So,
but Stephen King is definitely someone who we are going to talk about. We're gonna have to talk about him in a later episode.
Oh, for sure. All right, so Do we want to move on
Yeah.
to my number 2?
Yes. What is your number 2?
My number 2 is Clerks, directed by Kevin Smith.
All right.
Have you ever seen it?
Which I have not seen.
Ah.
I've not seen it.
Clerks is... I don't know. I say it's the funniest movie I've ever seen. I think that's still true. But the reason it's so funny to me is because it's the same kind of humor that I grew up with around my dad. It's just stupid, like 90s kid, like kind of awful humor that just hits me in like the best of ways. Like there's so many one-liners in this movie that I love with all of my heart. There's I'll quote one scene because I don't know, whenever we eventually do a Clerks episode, god, you'll just hear me say like all my favorite quotes from that movie. But my favorite one, like just to say offhand, is they're playing hockey on a roof, and like they hit the ball off of the roof of the place, and like they're like, oh whatever, and then they play another one, they hit it off the roof again, they're like, oh damn it, so they send the main guy Dante over the side like to like ask a guy down below if he saw them, and he's like, hey, you seen any balls down there? And the guy just goes, about the biggest pair you ever seen, Diggleberry. And he goes, god damn it.
Nice.
It's
no,
a
and
hysterical movie.
Kevin Smith didn't he make this film for like nothing?
Yeah, it was
like with no budget.
I believe it was like maybe 20,000, if that.
Yeah.
Because like from what I remember, he spent all of his savings, he sold all of his comic books, and then later bought them back once the movie succeeded.
Nice.
Yeah, he funded it completely by himself, and it's shot all in black and white, and it is probably my favorite, like, I don't know, independent movie ever. But yeah, it's a great one, and Kevin Smith has made some other great movies, like Dogma. I have not seen any of his others though, so they're all on my watch list.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, Clerks is a fantastic movie.
I'm gonna have to watch it. Yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah. So I guess we're on to the big one.
The big boy.
The big boy.
So my number 1. All right. Bit of an introduction before.
Okay. Yeah.
I've talked about a lot of very, very critically acclaimed films, like films that have only good reviews and everything, things that are studied at any film school and everything, and so my number 1, I wouldn't say that it is not a good film, because obviously it is my number 1, but it is not nearly as acclaimed as the other films, because I like it for a completely other reason. And well, all right, I say it's more them because it's 8 movies. It's the Harry Potter movie.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, I'm sure you weren't expecting that, but I'm not fucking joking. I could never say in my entire life that my favorite movie is not a Harry Potter movie, because Harry Potter is the single piece of media that I like the most in the entire world.
Okay, I have a proposition for you. I think
Go ahead.
One of these days. So for the last year, I've been debating watching all the Harry Potter movies again, because my girlfriend's really into Harry Potter, and I haven't been into Harry Potter since I was much younger. But I decided recently, I was like, I'll watch them all again sometime. But now that you said it's your favorite movies of all time,
Yeah.
what if we did like a big 2-parter episode on every movie?
Dude, yes. I'm so fucking down to do that.
Oh my god.
Because I've got like a lot of stuff to say about the films.
I'm sure, and it would obviously require me to watch all of them again. But yeah, I would be absolutely down. There's another this isn't going off on a side tangent, but there was another thing that you mentioned to me that I thought was very interesting the other night. about how you watch
All
these
right.
movies.
What do you mean?
The specific language you watch them in.
Oh, do you mean French?
Yes. So I think
All right.
it's,
Well, I
yeah.
used to watch them in I used to watch them in French, but now I watch them all in the original language.
Oh, I thought you said that you preferred it in French.
No, yeah, no. Well, Harry. All right. So what I said during that conversation was that it was because when I was a kid, I was watching the films in French because I didn't speak English.
Right.
But I at one point I decided to watch them all in English just to see what it was like, and I thought it was very disturbing. And yeah, no, it's weird because you're used to seeing these actors having certain voices,
Right.
and now it's completely different, and they have a British accent. Like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
And,
I don't know. I guess the reason that was so strange to me is because, obviously, American boy over here, I have a very, very, like, narrowed mindset when it comes to, like, how other movies are how movies made in my culture are perceived in other worlds, like other nations and languages. So I almost can't like fathom an English dub of like, or like not an English dub, like a foreign language dub of anything that like Back to the Future, for example. I can't fathom that. But it exists, and that's how a lot of people watch those movies, and I think that's really interesting. So I guess like when you brought up that was the way that you watched them, I think that's really cool.
Well, yeah, but so I didn't mention it last time, but I eventually got used to the English voices, mainly by watching a bunch of interviews of the actors and making of videos. So now when I watch the movies, I watch them in... Well, that's funny, because now I watch them in English, because the French voices are weird now.
That's
So
really...
it's all gone full circle.
That's really interesting, actually.
So, yeah.
Oh.
But, yeah, no. So, well, I guess I should maybe talk about why I like Harry Potter so much.
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing to explain.
Mm.
So I've just, as far as I can remember, I've just always been a massive Harry Potter fan. Like ever since I was a kid, I watched the movies and everything, and obviously it's a big thing in our generation.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. It's just like when the last film came out. The craze kind of like got a lot smaller, but it didn't get any smaller for me. I just kept being a fan and everything, and it just I don't know. And also, I just want to point out, I say my favorite films are the 8 Harry Potter movies. I do not count Fantastic Beasts because they're not nearly as good in my opinion.
No, they're not. I actually haven't seen the first one, but I have seen the second one. And I hated that.
Why did you watch the second film if you hadn't watched the first film?
So what happened was obviously they came out at a point where I was not nearly as big as a Harry Potter fan as I was when I was younger. So the first one didn't interest me at all. And then when the second one came out, my friend was like, "Hey, we're going to the movies tonight, and I was wondering if you wanted to come along. We're going to go see Fantastic Beasts." And that night, I was just wanting to get out of the house. So I was like, sure. And so I went and saw it, and that's why I've only seen the second one.
Yeah. Well, so as I said, the first one is okay. It's not the best. It's fine. The second one is a huge, massive pile of shit that I hate.
It's so bad.
It's not... Oh, my God. It's so bad. And you know why it's so bad?
Why?
Because J.K. Rowling wrote the film.
Oh.
And she might be a somewhat good author. She's garbage at screenwriting, and it's crazy how she's completely ruining her own franchise all by herself.
It's incredible to see just how bad of a job she's doing right now.
Oh my God, it's fucking crazy.
I wanted to ask I wanted to ask your perspective on this. Have you read The Cursed Child?
Don't get me fucking started on the Cursed Child.
Ooh, okay.
Alright,
Oh, cool.
so, alright, I read the Cursed Child when the books came out. The book version of it came out.
Yeah.
And it came out, I think, in 2016, so I was 13 years old. And I was not as good as we talked about earlier. I wasn't as good as forming opinions as I am now. And so I saw it, and I was just kind of like eating up whatever kind of crap that would come out from the Harry Potter universe. So I read it, and I thought, oh yeah, it's pretty good. It's nice to see more from the characters. And so that was 5 years ago. The more I think about the Cursed Child, and the more I remember things from it, the more I hate it. And now it's gone from, oh yeah, it's pretty good, to, oh my god, that's so bad. That's so not good.
There's
so much stuff that is wrong with it.
I've never read it, because it came out at a point where I just didn't care. But
of course,
there's this great YouTube channel out there by the name of Austin McConnell, and the guy who runs it is the same name.
Yeah.
And he has a couple videos on the Cursed Child, and I watched them, and I'm like, this is what happened? I was like, oh no.
Yeah, it's crazy how like not like every single character does not react and act the way that they should based on the books.
Right.
Like Harry Potter, the character of Harry Potter in the Cursed Child is such a fucking asshole throughout the entire thing, and it's just like, we're not going to go in a tangent for too long about the Cursed Child, because it's going to take too long, and I'm curious to see what your... Well, I'm guessing I know what your number one is, but I'm curious to see about that conversation. Yeah, but the fact that... so at the end of the last film, he talked to his kid, because it's 19 years later, talks to his kid who's about to go to Hogwarts, and it's like, but Dad, what if I'm going to Slytherin? You know, he's very worried about that. And Harry decides to tell him, you know, oh, dude, that's not an issue. There were all these guys who were Slytherins, and they were really brave guys and everything, and really cool guys. And you're named after a Slytherin, Albus Severus, which is a terrible name, but that's another thing. And then in the Cursed Child, the kid ends up being Slytherin, and then he just fucking changes his mindset. He's like, oh, you fucking kid. I don't know.
That's really weird. That's
so bad. Yeah. It's like, I don't know. I hate it. It's fun. It was funny when all the talks were coming out about J.K. Rowling being transphobic and her being canceled and everything. It's like, so I saw people saying like, in the more extreme sides, I saw people saying like, oh, people shouldn't watch Harry Potter anymore because it is, you know, because of J.K. Rowling. It's like, dude, do you not realize that literally every single Harry Potter fan stopped liking J.K. Rowling many years ago?
Yeah, it's so...
Like, yeah, we know.
We know?
Yeah, dude, don't worry. We know.
That's perfect.
Yeah, but yeah. So, I'm just going to shut up about Harry Potter. We're going to talk about it some other time. So now let's talk about your number one, Alec.
Well, my number one movie of all time is the only movie that every time I've watched it, it's only gotten more perfect in my mind, and that is The Shining.
Yay.
But,
right.
Yeah, I
awesome.
mean, it's just... Oh, it's so...
Yeah.
It's the only horror movie that actually disturbs me to my core. Like, I watched...
Really?
Yeah, like, more specifically, just the idea of the haunted ballroom. I don't know what it is about that ballroom, but it just...
Huh.
Oh, it creeps me... It creeps me out, dude.
That's interesting.
And just thinking about all the pieces of the movie, Stanley Kubrick made this movie like a puzzle. Like, it's so... It's like a puzzle that doesn't quite fit together. there's so many things in this movie that don't feel right, but are just so incredible. Like, there's just scenes where, like, obviously there's the scene where Shelley Duvall's running through the hallway and she sees that bear blowing or bear blowing that dude. Is really weird. And then
yeah.
And then there's there's another thing completely off tangent, and we'll talk about this during like a Shining episode or something. Room 237 is a 3-hour long documentary about conspiracy theories of The Shining.
Yeah.
And it is...
I heard about that.
It's not an amazing documentary, but it's hilarious. Because you get some really interesting...
Really?
You get some really interesting theories. Like, okay, this one guy notices that if you play the movie forwards and backwards at the same time, some scenes will, like, coincidentally overlap. And it's, like, it's very interesting to see this breakdown. And then you get to see, like, a crazy person go on a 20-minute tangent about how he thinks that this poster of a skier is like a minotaur, and what that means for the movie. And he's just sitting there. He's like, it's a minotaur, and he sees this, and it symbolizes mythical creatures in the woods. And it's it's my favorite documentary about crazy people, and I haven't seen it since I was like 14, but I need to watch it again.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm gonna say this. I think Shining is the most overanalyzed film there's ever been. And there's like, it's crazy. Like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff to analyze from this film because there's obviously a lot of stuff that's a lot of kind of like hidden things that Kubrick made. And,
Room 237 is like the pinnacle of that. It's so crazy.
There's I've heard things like I'm sure there are things that were mentioned in this documentary, but I heard them and I was like, yeah, dude, do you not realize that you make no fucking sense right now?
The Native American theory is the one that makes absolutely no sense at all.
Yeah.
It's I don't remember the specifics of it because I kind of forgot it, but like it's because of all the Native American imagery that's in the film. A lot of people think that it's a film that relates to the story of the Native Americans. And, you know, you could make you can make comparisons, but I don't think that's what the movie was about. If I had to take a guess personally.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I heard about that one, yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah. But there are a lot of things. I think I told you that like earlier this year for one of my classes, I had to make an analysis on The Shining.
Yes, you did say that.
And I talked a lot about like how Kubrick does until you really see that like Jack is going crazy. He does an amazing job at foreshadowing without like in a way that's like he's being subtle, but you can still like notice it and think like, hey, yeah, something's going on. Like in a lot of transitions, there's a scene where Jack is kind of like having writer's block, and so instead of writing, he's throwing a ball at the wall and catching it and throwing it again. And he does that for a while, and then the scene fades into another scene where his wife and kid are going to the labyrinth. And the way the transition makes it so that like it's almost looks like he's throwing the ball at them, which is kind of like a foreshadow. It might do one of those things that Craig did not plan at all, but it looks like it was planned.
It has so much like terror. The way I describe like the last act of the movie is that it has so much like horror energy. It just like once the like deliberately like scary stuff starts happening, it just doesn't stop. It just keeps going and ramps up to intensity until just that last frame of him like just frozen in the snow.
Yeah.
And then you get that scary like camera like move through of like the cobwebs, and then there's the picture of him with all the people in the ballroom, which makes no sense but is terrifying, and I love it.
Yeah. No, it's great. Plus, like, Jack Nicholson
Oh,
was, like,
oh my god.
perfect for this film.
You can tell Stanley Kubrick. Oh my god. Throughout all of his movies, he's been notorious for just being the biggest asshole when it comes to like how he treats his actors and actresses. But
Well, yeah, I mean,
oh my
that was
god.
yeah, that was especially the case with Shelley Duvall.
Yeah,
who, like,
Jesus
I've heard so many people
Christ.
say. I've heard so many people say like that she's really bad in this film and stuff like that.
No.
What the fuck are you
Shelley
guys talking
Duvall
about?
is-
She's amazing,
It's so good in this movie.
dude. Like the scene where he's threatening her with a knife, I think. Where they're going. No, she's got the knife and they're
Yeah.
going up the stairs. You know that scene. I think it's the scene that they did 127 takes of.
Oh my god.
And yeah, and it's. I mean, the acting is amazing.
There's the fact that
But
like
I've heard something that.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, something that I've heard about the whole thing of Stanley Kubrick being kind of like abusive with his actors. Is like he was like that with Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall, and the guy who played the chef, the one kill count in the only film in the entire film.
Scatman Crothers.
Yeah, those are the three actors that he was really kind of like abusive with. The other ones, like the kid and all the crew, he was apparently really nice with. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
So it's not just him being an asshole. It's just his way
it's
of making
completely
movies,
it's completely deliberate in every way.
yeah.
There's
Which then the debate is kind of like, does he really need that to get that from his actors? I'm not entirely sure about that, but
there's a lot
that's
to be said.
A whole
morally.
other debate.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said morally about it, and there's a lot of my own views that I
Yeah.
don't know how I feel about it. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
But the fact that he didn't tell Shelley Duvall that Jack Nicholson was going to, I don't know, axe down an entire door and scream at her is so entirely terrifying. Imagine being Shelley Duvall and Jack Nicholson is going absolutely
dude.
crazy.
Must have been hell.
Oh my
But
god.
like, then I saw I saw an interview of her after the movie had come out, where she was like, "Oh, it was such a great experience." It was like, was it though? Kind of seems like not that much fun.
Was it though? That's great.
Not entirely convinced by that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's The Shining, my favorite movie ever made.
Yeah. So I guess now it's time for the second and obviously last list. Cause dude, I don't know how long we've been talking, but it's been a while.
It's my Audacity says we've been almost going for 2.5 hours.
Jesus fucking Christ!
Yeah.
All right, well, let's try to go for 3, shall we?
Yeah, let's go for 3.
All right, so next list, that one's gonna be a top 4 of our favorite directors. Because I thought that would be interesting to see what kind of directors we like. Obviously, we're gonna talk about movies and directors that we already talked about in our previous list. Because I'm guessing, at least that's the case for me, but I'm guessing that your favorite directors were already mentioned in your top 10.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
All right, so I guess like the previous list, I'm gonna go first.
Mm-hmm. Go right ahead.
So my fourth favorite director is Wes Anderson.
All right.
So obviously, as we've already talked about it about him quite a lot. So I'm not gonna talk too much about him. But obviously, I mean, his films are they're nice. Like, that's nice in the best way possible, if that makes sense. Like, that's something that I forgot to mention with Grand Budapest Hotel. But even though it's not entirely a comedy, like, whenever I watch it, I always have like a huge smile on my face. It's such a nice film to watch. And
No,
it's the case with every single one of his films.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, like my second favorite film from him, which we didn't mention yet, is Rushmore,
Mm-hmm.
which I think might be his most underrated film.
I would see that's really interesting that you say that, and that you say that
Yeah,
that you say that like which is I consider Life Aquatic probably to be my third favorite, which is funny that you say that that's your least favorite, because Rushmore is actually my least favorite.
yeah.
Which is
Oh well,
yeah, which I mean is saying your least favorite Wes Anderson film is like, for me that's like saying like, oh, this is my least favorite kind of water. It's all good.
right. Well, I mean, I don't know if that's the best comparison because that's kind of saying that like all the Wes Anderson films are the same, but I absolutely get what you're saying though.
I don't know. A lot of them are on the same level of quality, I guess I would say, for me.
Yeah.
Like I would say
every single
Rushmore for me is like a 6 out of 10, but every other Wes Anderson movie is like 7.
Oh, okay.
Is like 7, 8, 9, and 10.
For me, all the Wes Anderson films are like at least 8. They're 8, 9, or 10.
I would say like, yeah, the only Wes films that like dip below an 8 to me are like, I don't know, Moonrise Kingdom, Rushmore, and Isle of Dogs.
See, Moonrise Kingdom was another one that I didn't like quite as much as his other films.
It's not great.
It's
good. It's very good, but it's not like
there are a lot of things. Yeah,
it's not the masterpiece that a lot of people might say it is. Because a lot of people love Moonrise Kingdom, and don't get me wrong, Moonrise Kingdom is great.
Yeah,
but it's not amazing. It's not his best.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I think, no, I think, you know what? Moonrise Kingdom is my least favorite. Life Aquatic is my second least favorite. And, hold on, let me just look at his film. Yeah, so the first film of him that I saw was Isle of Dogs, which, well, now we're going back to the very beginning of the podcast, but when I was talking about the video store near my house that closed, when I said that they had a sale and I got a bunch of films, that was one of them. Because I've never seen a Wes Anderson film, so I saw it and I was like, might as well watch it. And I really want to rewatch it after having watched all of his other films, just because I think I think it would be really interesting to see, knowing like all his background. Oh yeah, no,
I would. That's another thing I'd love to do is like a Wes Anderson retrospective. Like if you ever wanted to do, I don't know, a Harry Potter sized monolith series, I would recommend, for my end at least, the Wes Anderson series.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Another film from Wes Anderson that I really like, and that it's one of those films that I think I like it more after having watched it, and like the memory of it is gets better and better every time I think about it, is Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Fantastic Mr. Fox. So okay, here's how, and I'll talk. I could have mentioned this when I bring up Wes Anderson later in my list, but I'll mention it now because this is where the conversation's going. But the way I watched Wes Anderson was interesting, to say the least, because I remember I was over at my dad's friend's house, the same ones that we watched La La Land at, and they put on Grand Budapest one night, and I'm like, that was phenomenal. I was like, who is this guy who made this? And the guy, Josh, he was like, oh yeah, I have like most of his movies. We should watch all of them. And I'm like, yeah. So we watched all of them, and I fell in love with Wes Anderson's style. Actually, now that I say that, I have an answer to the beginning of the podcast when you said, when did you become a cinephile? I know exactly when now. I was in 7th grade, and I watched all the Wes Anderson movies. So that was that. Mm-hmm. But the only one we didn't watch was Fantastic Mr. Fox. And I had not seen it since I was I think I was a kid when I saw it, because it was like, marketed as a kid's movie, which it is, but it's not like entirely a kid's movie.
Yeah.
So recently when I, bought all the Wes Anderson movies on Criterion, I watched Fantastic Mr. Fox again, and I'm like, Jesus, that's amazing. I was like, I didn't remember how incredible Fantastic Mr. Fox is.
It's such a sweet film about family.
It's so nice.
Amazing. So I just realized that I said we weren't going to talk about Wes Anderson for too long, but I feel like it's already been quite a while.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So let's go a bit faster for the following ones.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Actually,
so, what is your number 4?
I guess what we could do, honestly, is let's just like. Okay. Here's what we can do. I'm gonna go through.
Yeah.
Instead of like dragging it out like we did the film list, let's just like rapid fire go through the directors, because I can go through these pretty quick, so I'll just go through all of mine and then you can go through all of yours. So number 4 for me is Stanley Kubrick. I've only seen The Shining and Full Metal Jacket, but both of those movies are very, very close to perfection. I would say Shining probably is. There's not much more I can say other than I'm going to watch, the rest of his movies. Number 3 is probably, shoot. I was gonna say the director of Evangelion, but I'm not sure. Probably. Let's just say it's him. Hideaki Anno. He is very.
I didn't expect that.
He is. He's very good at. So I would say Evangelion is probably the greatest, example of a creative vision gone absolutely insane, because Anno decided, because it started out as, it was made week by week. So the way it was written in the beginning was he was like, you know what, this is gonna be a regular robot mecha anime, and they're just gonna be very good. And then his depression started taking hold, and he made it a lot more existentialist. Near the last half of the series, it's extremely contemplative and slow and insanely beautiful, to the point where I can't even watch some of those episodes because they're so entirely emotional and really well made. And then there's obviously the end of Evangelion, which is peak craziness when it comes to Evangelion, because it's pretty much all hell breaking loose, both in the actual world during the making of the movie, in terms of the reception of Evangelion and actual, content of the movie. So I would say Hideaki Anno is probably my 3rd favorite, just based on how insane and perfect Evangelion can get. Sometimes there are a few episodes that aren't that great.
All right.
But 2nd is Hayao Miyazaki. What else can I say? There's Spirited Away, My Neighbor Totoro. I believe Castle in the Sky was him as well. I don't think Howl's Moving Castle was him. I could be wrong. I don't know. I do know that most of those early Ghibli films they're either Miyazaki or they're Isao Takahata, which is an amazing director in his own right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I love that one too. And my favorite director is Wes Anderson. So we already talked about him at length.
Yeah, let's not talk about him again.
Yeah.
I feel like we've talked about him enough for today.
He'll get his chance.
Yeah.
All right, so you go ahead.
All right, so I already said my number 4 was Wes Anderson, who I've seen all of his films except Rocket Bottle Rocket, Darjeeling Limited, and the
Royal Tenenbaums.
Royal Tenenbaums. I forgot about that. It's getting late. I'm tired.
Yeah, I get it, man.
Yeah. So my 3rd favorite director is David Fincher, who I've seen Fight Club, Social Network, Seven, Zodiac, The Game, and Mank, which was kind of a deception. I didn't like it quite as much as his other films.
Mm-hmm.
Then my second favorite is Bong Joon-ho, who, yeah, obviously is the guy who got me into Asian and especially South Korean cinema. And I've only seen four of his films. I thought I'd seen more. So I saw Parasite, Snowpiercer, which I think is highly underrated. I think this is a fantastic film. Okja, which is his Netflix movie, and Memories of Murder, which is kind of like the film that put him on the map, and it's still, even 18 years later, still a masterpiece. It's an amazing film.
I just recently bought Memories of Murder from Criterion, so I will be watching that and telling you what I think.
No, next sale I'm gonna get it. I was so happy when they announced it.
Yeah.
And finally, my favorite director of all time is Edgar Wright.
It's a good choice. Very good choice.
Yeah, who was kind of like I got really into his movies at the very beginning of quarantine, and yeah, I just binge watch. I never binge watch a director's movies. And that's not the way I like to watch movies, but that's what I did for him. Just because, like, I watched one film, I was like, all right, I need more. So I watched everything, and I love it, and I'm so excited for Last Night in Soho.
I'm excited as well. Yeah, and I need to watch all of his as well. All right, so that concludes the director's portion. And that almost concludes the podcast, but I will say I think there's one last thing we have to do.
Oh,
I think we need to pick what the movie for next week is going to be.
Oh, sure. Oh, I didn't think we were going to do that during the podcast.
Well, I mean, I think it's important that we, I don't know, I guess we leave off with time for people to watch the movie until the next episode.
Right. Oh, that's smart.
Yeah. So do we want to throw mine into like a randomizer list?
Yeah. So all right, to explain, the way we're gonna do this is we both have we have a Google Doc where we both have a list of films that we each want to talk about, and every single week we're gonna take one of our lists and put it in a randomizer. And the film that's going to come up is going to be the film that we're going to talk about. So, we've established that for the first real episode, it's going to be Alec's list.
All right. So,
what is the film?
The film is... I've hit the randomizer. It's loading. Oh, it's still loading. I don't know why it's taking this long. Oh god, the suspense.
Oh my god, the suspense is intense.
Are we kidding? This is this is when it wants to do some suspense on me. Alright, that's fine. Well, this is not a time for my internet to be terrible, is it?
Oh my god.
Oh no. Oh my god, it's taking so long. Okay, I'm gonna go on my phone and see if I can get to it before the computer does. Oh, never mind. The first film is Run, Lola, Run.
Oh. Okay.
So, Run, Lola, Run is a German film from 1998. And it is something else. I watched it during my film classes, and I thought it was phenomenal. So...
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but again, like you, we talked about it in one of my classes, because for one of my classes we had to film like a scene, like a purchase scene. No, it's not how you say it. Shit. Fuck, my English is messing up. Sorry, it's late.
It's fine. You're fine.
You know, where like two people are running at each other.
Yeah.
You know, like a scene where two people are running at each other.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah, those kind of scenes. So, yeah. And for my teacher showed us a scene from the film to kind of like give us an example.
Yeah, that's okay. So
Yeah.
that's the first movie.
I did not expect. Yeah, I did not expect it to be this film.
I didn't expect that either, honestly. I was fully expecting one of the other movies we talked about, honestly. But yeah, Run Lola Run.
Yeah.
I have, I think most of the things you have to rent them on, but I can honestly, I can send you a full MP4 of it subbed, because that's what happened with my professor and I. He just sent me a full MP4 of it, so I can just do that.
Yeah, my teachers did that as well. Yeah.
Well, all right.
Well, I guess that this is the end of the very first episode of Movie Dudes.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
So, all right, if there's still anyone watching the podcast here, thank you very much for bearing with us through 2.5 hours of us just talking about movies.
I'm sure, I am 100% certain that either this episode will not be as long as we're saying it is, because maybe, I don't know, maybe it might get cut down a little bit. I don't know. That's all Phil's decision when he edits it.
Yeah.
But I can guarantee you that most of the episodes will not be this long.
No, because I don't know about you, but I can't talk for this long about only one film.
Yeah, the fact that we could talk about this long just shows that, like, those were multiple movies that we just mentioned. Like, I think the only other time that we'll talk this much is probably when we review Harry Potter.
Sure, yeah, or like if we're talking about more than one film in one episode.
Yeah, it's...
Yeah, so... yeah, I'm hoping for like 1 hour each episode.
Around there,
I feel like that's a good length.
That's a good goal.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So yeah, well, thank you for watching the first episode. If you liked it, again, like all the YouTubers say, you can like, comment, subscribe, hit the fucking bell. Yeah, so I guess I'm gonna put also both of our letterboxd in the description, so if you want to follow us, you can do that. I can also put our Twitter in there, and yeah. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week for the very first episode. Well, technically first episode about Run Lola Run.
All right. Bye.
Bye.